T-minus 30 seconds. We are go for launch. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the NASA Social for the Crew-1 mission to the International Space Station.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the virtual NASA Social for the Crew-1 mission to the International Space Station. If you're just joining us for the first time today, we want to tell you a little bit more about the launch that is currently scheduled for November 14th at 7:49 p.m. Eastern Time. So back in May, you might have watched as astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley launched to the International Space Station aboard the Demo 2 mission. So that mission was kind of the last step in certification for SpaceX to fly astronauts regularly to and from the space station. And what that means is that they've been working with NASA for several years now to ensure that their capabilities are safe and reliable to fly crews to and from Earth. And so Crew-1 will actually be the first mission where SpaceX is certified to regularly fly crews to and from the space station. Also, if this is your first time joining us, we want to let you know if you have questions throughout this program, you can go ahead and drop them in the YouTube chat, and we may just answer them live. So we have a really awesome guest with us today. She is a lead design engineer for the Commercial Crew program. So I'm going to toss it out to my colleague Allison. She is at the Launch Complex 39 observation deck, and she's going to be chatting with Sam Testa about her role within the program.
Thank you, Madison. Yes, I'm NASA communicator Allison Tankersley, and I am live at the gantry with lead design engineer for astronaut centrifuge training, Sam Testa. Sam, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Now, can you please tell us what is astronaut centrifuge training as a whole?
Yes, astronaut centrifuge training gives the crew the chance to experience what launch and reentry is going to feel like prior to day of launch. So they'll go through, up at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, a centrifuge training experience consisting of launch, reentry, landing, and an abort profile for their SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule. What you can see right now is Victor getting suited up in a mock spacesuit, and he'll make his way over to the gondola portion of the centrifuge where he'll get strapped into his seat, the door will be closed, and he'll be ready to spin.
That truly sounds like a very immersive training experience.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So this is just one of the many trainings that the Commercial Crew program goes through before they get on for their mission.
Yes, they train for up to years to get ready for the missions that they'll be flying, especially this one up to the International Space Station, where they'll be performing science and research that'll eventually help us get us to the moon and Mars.
Well, it all is truly exciting. Can you tell me a little bit about how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, I have always wanted to work at NASA. It's been a dream of mine since about third grade, and I had a really supportive family who helped me get into STEM programs and support projects I would do at home. And I was lucky enough in college to get an internship and then eventually a full-time job here at the Kennedy Space Center.
Well, that's awesome, and we are so thrilled you were able to follow your dream and end up at the Kennedy Space Center. We do have an Ask NASA question. What are you looking forward to most about this mission?
Great. Oh, I'm looking forward to having a full crew of 4 astronauts who are launching to station for the first of many launches with our SpaceX partners. They'll be up there for about 6 months, and this crew is really great. We got to spend a full day with them when they did centrifuge training. They were a lot of fun. We really enjoyed spending time with them, and we're really excited to see them launch. They've been looking forward to it for a very long time.
So you did do the centrifuge training with these astronauts that are going up?
Yes, I was there with a couple of them. I was actually away they didn't come together as a crew as they usually do. Their schedules are very tight, so we have to fit it in where we can. But I was there with Victor and a couple others when they did their training day.
Awesome. And I heard word on the street is you actually got to do this training. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I did, yeah. I'm also the test subject for the project, along with a couple other of my colleagues who are on the program. And we were able to do the full experience. It's about 40 minutes in the centrifuge, following from launch all the way through the abort profile. And it's quite a ride.
I bet. So would you say, if it was me, that'd be my favorite part, but what's your favorite part?
That is my favorite
part. That was it?
Yeah, absolutely. Getting to ride the centrifuge and then work with the crew. And we have such a great team of engineers and doctors. We have some crew who are actually on the team with us. It's a great experience. It's one of my favorite projects.
I bet. And we do have a question on social. How important is it for the crew to practice in these simulations?
It's hugely important. Being able to experience launch and reentry before they get into their capsule not only gives them the chance to practice and prepare for what it's going to feel like when they're under intense G-loading, but it also gives them a chance to get a little bit more comfortable with the environment and give them that experience to take away that little bit of extra worry that they may have before they launch.
And what advice would you give then to anyone who is interested in a career like this? How did you get to be this specific position?
Oh, follow what you want to do. Don't let anybody, tell you that you can't do something. If you want it and you work hard enough, you can absolutely get there. And I was lucky enough to have the support system to get to where I am. I've always been a little bit more mechanically inclined. I went to school to be a mechanical engineer before I started working here. And one of the best pieces of advice I think I've ever gotten is if you get an opportunity to always try and take it, because you never know where it could lead you somewhere down the line.
Yeah, I think that's advice I hear all the time at NASA is just say yes and see where you get to go with these opportunities.
Yeah.
And that's follow-up to we have a viewer, Heidi. What can you share with my twin daughters about the best route of engineering or piloting for space?
Oh, the best route. That's a good question. I don't know that there is a best route. I think that a lot of people come into these jobs looking for, one way to get to where you want to go. And I think that there are always multitude of paths to get you there. Mine was just one of many. I have many friends who are also lead design engineers who studied electrical or software engineering. You don't have to be mechanical to get to this type of a job. You just have to work hard and take control of the opportunities that are presented to you.
And that is great advice. And so you've done the centrifuge staging. Is this something you get to do again?
Yes. We're actually going to be there in spring of next year with Crew-2, who will be also launching with SpaceX on a Crew Dragon.
Awesome. So you get to do it more than once, but how many times do the astronauts do it before they go?
They get to experience the centrifuge just for that one day because their schedules are so tight. So they get at least one full round of training. And sometimes if we have extra time, they're offered two. And they would do it as many times as we would allow them to, trust me. But because their schedules are so tight, it's really just one day of training.
Well, that's, I'm sure, a very full-packed day, and that's exciting that they want to do it again and again. I think that really speaks to their passion about the job.
Yeah, fun fact, if you've ever been on Disney World's Mission to Mars ride, you've actually ridden the same type of centrifuge that the astronauts use during this training. The company that built the Disney ride also built the Wright-Patterson centrifuge.
And have you had any, was there any crazy stories of any reactions after riding the centrifuge?
No.
Nope.
No one's gotten sick, thankfully. It's a little bit of an unnatural feeling. It's definitely a crazy ride, but no one's gotten sick. Everyone's had a really good time. And I think the most interesting comment we've gotten is from astronaut Eric Bowe, who said that the GX experience felt like a small elephant was sitting on his chest.
I can imagine that feeling, and maybe I'm not cut out for the gig. But I do want to know, has anyone gone into the centrifuge trainings that has already been to space?
Yes, yeah.
What did they say about it?
They thought that the training has gotten much better. We start with a testing point with a generic profile, and then we've been moving into a more realistic profile as we get data from the flown vehicles. And this last centrifuge training was our highest fidelity yet, and we got really positive feedback from the crew who have flown both from shuttle and on the Soyuz, saying that it was very realistic and that they think it's going to be a very positive training for the crew to experience prior to day of flight.
Awesome. I'm sure that speaks to you and your team. You love to hear that.
It's an amazing team of people, and it couldn't be done without any of them. You know, this team is really a very high-functioning group, and I'm absolutely honored to be a part of it.
And we have another question from NASA Social. What is your personal next goal? What's after this?
Oh, so that's a good question. My ultimate goal personally is to be an astronaut myself. I just applied to the crew call in late last year, I believe, is when it came out, or early this year is when it started. But unfortunately, because of COVID, they are on pause with the program right now to be accepting new candidates. However, they are hoping to reopen it in spring of next year, where I'm one of 12,000 who applied, so it's really just keeping my fingers crossed, and we'll see, but that would be my ultimate goal.
Well, that's a big next step, but I think you're on the right track with the training you've got going on. You've already done the simulator, so that's awesome. And I think that's testament to just, always following what comes next at NASA, just saying yes to things. You're going after your dreams, and we love to see that here. We did have one question, though, specifically on what did you study in school?
I was a mechanical engineer in college. I went to Villanova University up in Philly. I did my undergraduate and my master's degree out there.
Well, that's awesome. So just one of the many degrees you can get for a job like this.
Yeah, there's all kinds of different engineering degrees, and if you decide to go and be an engineer, take your time to figure out what type of engineering is right for you, and make sure that you really love it.
And do you have any advice for the younger kids who are still maybe in middle school, high school, preparing, they're not at college yet? What should they do to find out if they're interested in STEM?
There are a lot of great, youth programs and student programs out there for kids who may be interested in STEM. There's a lot of science and math involved, but if your school doesn't have something, make sure you do your research. NASA has a lot of student programs that you can engage in, both in person and online. So even if you don't live near a NASA center, they have programs for you.
Well, Sam, it's been great speaking with you today. I have one final question that I love to ask everyone. Where will you be watching launch from?
Oh, I'll be at home, sitting in front of my TV, just holding my breath, watching this crew launch from here at 39 on Saturday night.
Well, that's so exciting, and such a good thing to note, too, that, even if you work at NASA, so many of us are watching it from here, from TV, from the internet, and it's just important to be a part of it in any way you can and experience it on whatever platform you can.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Sam, for joining us. We are live at the gantry. I'm Allison Tankersley. I'm going to throw it back to you, Madison. What can our viewers expect next?
Thank you so much, Allison, and thank you, Sam, for joining us and answering some viewers' questions. So if you are as excited as I am about the launch, you want to note down this time in your calendar. Tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, that's November 14th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, you can head to www.nasa.gov/live for the beginning of our live launch coverage. If you joined us for the Demo 2 launch back in May, you might remember you'll get to see the crew kind of get their final suit checks. You'll get to see them walk out of the astronaut crew quarters and then make their way to the launch pad ahead of launch, which is currently scheduled for 7:49 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you all so much for joining. Stay tuned for our final show today, which will begin at 4:30 Eastern Time. It's a really awesome show talking with some students who have an experiment that will actually be flying on board the mission. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you later this afternoon.